Good afternoon, welcome. My name is John Livermore. Little history about myself before we get started. I spent 20 years in the United States Air Force as a firefighter. During that time, I deployed 5 times and lived throughout the world in different supports of operations. So today, I'm going to discuss something I'm very familiar with and something all firefighters should be familiar with, and that's the oldest tool used in the fire service, a rope. A rope has so many different uses in the fire service. It can be used for self-rescue, meaning the firefighter rescues theirself. It can be used for rescue, meaning you rescue a victim or a downed firefighter. It can be used to secure a ladder to a facility. It can be used to raise a saw to the top of a roof. It can be used to cordon off an area. There's so many uses for a rope, and we pretty much use a rope, or could use a rope, on every emergency we go on. By the end of this, I'm hoping that you guys have a better understanding of different parts of the rope, what we look for in a rope, and we're going to go over a couple knots that us firefighters use a lot. So let's get started. In the fire service, there's 2 basic ropes. The first one is life safety rope. Life safety rope is just that. It's to save a life, meaning save a firefighter's personal life, or save a victim's life, or save a downed firefighter's life. It's not used to secure a ladder to a facility. It's not used to cordon off a scene. It doesn't get dragged through the mud. It's treated like what it is. It's treated to save lives. It's not treated for anything else. The other rope that we use for all that other fun stuff, getting dragged through the mud, securing a building, raising a saw to the roof, is called utility rope. Utility rope and life safety rope, what's the difference? None. We get all of our rope is life safety rope. So NFPA 1583 determines the difference between the 2 ropes, and it tells us what to look for to downgrade a life safety rope to a utility rope. So some of the reasons we would downgrade a rope for that is if it got a big tug on it. If something fell out the window and snagged it and big force yanked on it, it would get downgraded to utility rope. Before each shift, after each emergency that we utilize it, and once every quarter, we go through each and every rope and we're feeling it. We're looking at it, looking for any dirt, looking for any divots, cracks in the outside, feeling for bumps. And if we would find any of that stuff, we would downgrade a rope to utility rope. So all rope starts as life safety and can get downgraded to utility rope. From there, it just gets downgraded to garbage. So once again, NFPA 1583 will go over what to look for, and that's all based on the manufacturer. But NFPA 1583 for more information. Now I'm going to go over different parts of the rope. So we have our running end. We call it the running end because it runs around the equipment. It runs around a victim. It runs around a ladder to secure to a building. So that's this part. That's a running end. It's the very front of the rope. Next is the working end, and the working end is what's doing the work. So it's the very opposite end of the running end. It's this part of the rope. The reason it's called the working end because this is the rope that's holding to the building. The guys are pulling to rescue a victim. This is the part that is on a tripod during a rescue. It's working. So this is what we pull to work. This is the running end that runs around the victim, runs around the tools. And in between there, we have the standing part. So that's just where we tie our knots, where we put it around an object. This is the standing part. The next part of the rope I'm going to discuss is the hitch. And this is just like that. That's all a hitch is. It just goes around in a circle. And this is the start of a foundation knot. A foundation knot, which we're going to go into a little more depth here in a little bit, is a starter knot that can be utilized to do a compound knot. But we'll go into that in a second after we're done talking about all this. Some other parts of the rope we like to call our backup knot or safety knot. So after we tie a knot, we just tie a square knot, and that's your basic knot that you, me, anyone in the world ties around our shoes. Just a knot, and this is called our backup knot, safety knot, stopping knot, whatever you want to call it. It's just an extra backup, and all that is a square knot around there. So now I'm going to go over our basic knots. There's so many knots that different people use, but in the fire service, at least in the Air Force, we use the figure eight family. Figure eight family can be used so many different ways, and it's so easy to learn, so we just continue to use that. We're going to start with the foundation knot, which like I talked about earlier, is the starting knot, and that's just a figure eight. So figure eight is a figure eight. It's pretty easy. That's your starter knot. That's your foundation knot. That's your begin knot. Whatever your station, whatever you call it, that's your figure eight. So off of the figure eight, there's many different knots. We can do figure eight on a bite, figure eight follow through, figure eight that connects two ropes together. But I'm going to do the other big knot that we utilize in the fire service, and that's figure eight on a bite. So figure eight on a bite, pretty much you just get the rope and you double it up. You got your hitch up here, like we discussed earlier, your running end, and down here is your working end, and all you're doing is your figure eight again. So there's your figure eight again, and it's pretty cool at the end of this, because then all these hitches and running ends and working ends will make a little more sense after this knot. So that's your figure eight on a bite. All you did is doubled up the rope, and what do you have at the end? You have your hitch right there. You have your running end, as you see, because this all ran around the object, and your working end, this is what you pull it with. So this is one of the bigger knots we utilize in the fire service. Probably more than any other knot, I use this knot. And this can be hung to self-rescue, so you can hang this on any other piece of equipment inside the building, around a pole, and you can just lower yourself down. You can put this around a victim and bring it back through the loop and lower a victim that way. So this is the bigger knot we use in the fire service. And again, all this is under NFPA 1583, that you can find more information. Knots, they're a dime a dozen. Anywhere you look, there's a different knot. Each station does a different types of knots, but for the Air Force, the figure eight family is the key. So we went over the rope, what to look for in a rope, the different types of ropes we use in the fire service, what we look for in an inspection, and a few of the basic knots I utilize in a fire service. These can be used for just about anything your imagination can think of, and we use them for pretty much anything our imagination can think of out on the fire grounds. So I hope you're a little more familiar with a rope and know the difference of just a rope and what the firefighters use a rope for, what we call certain ends. And you look at a rope a little different. Thank you for your time, and have a great afternoon.